being a Coloradan American, I have a whole bunch of freedoms and rights and freedoms and rights and freedoms on top of rights and freedoms. So the right to remonstrate, the right to speak, the right to peacefully assemble. Not only do I get the rights from the U.S. Constitution, but also get the rights from the Colorado Constitution. You can't just pick and choose. You can't just pick and choose which freedoms and rights that an American, well, you're in Colorado, so therefore the American Constitution don't apply. Really? What kind of fucking goddamn idiot would say some stupid shit like that? So here's just 10 of my constitutional rights and freedoms: the right to remonstrate, the right to speak, the right to peacefully assemble, the right to petition, the right to religion, the right to a jury trial, the right to initiative, the right to recall, the right to security, and the right to property. I also have a whole bunch of legal, natural rights and freedoms that's not listed in the U.S. and the Colorado Constitution. And that's, via the goddamn enumerated clause, right? The Ninth Amendment, the U.S. Constitution, you got the Ninth Amendment, and then the Colorado Constitution, you got Article 2, Section 28. So here's 8 natural rights at the very least, right? This at the very bare minimum. You got a right to unionize, right to marriage, right to privacy, right to found a family, right to food, right to water, right to clothing and warmth, and a right to shelter. I mean, what is the point of life? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What is the point of liberty and the pursuit of happiness if life isn't guaranteed? Now, in terms of the hierarchy of law, you got the local in the U.S. and the Colorado Constitution is the top. That's the very fundamental, basic. That's where all the other laws come from. Without the Constitution, you got no foundation for, the entire legal framework. So the Constitution, local U.S. and Colorado Constitution, natural law, local and U.S. Colorado Code, common sense, case law, administrative regulation, civil, criminal procedure, executive orders, international treaties, and codes of conduct. So those are just good things to remember. And, you got a right to remonstrate. So that means I get to be a fucking dick. In Colorado, you could, we got a right to speak, right? The First Amendment and Amendment 10. But Amendment 24, or Section 10, Article 2, Section 10, Section 24 says we got a right to remonstrate. We got a right to peacefully assemble, Article 24, right to petition, 24, right to religion, Section 4, Article 2, Section 4, Section 24. Right to a jury trial, Article 2, Section 16, right to initiative, Article 5, Section 1, right to recall, Article 22, Section 1. The right to security, Article 2, Section 2, Article 2, Section 13. The right to property, Article 2, Section 3, Article 2, Section 25. And the 5th Amendment and the 14th Amendment. The right to unionize, the right to marriage, the right to privacy, right to found a family, the right to food, the right to water, the right to clothing and warmth, the right to shelter, the right to remonstrate, the right to speak, the right to peacefully assemble, the right to petition, the right to religion, the right to a jury trial, and the right to initiative. So the Constitution is the very top, right? And then natural law, local U.S., Colorado Code, then common sense and case law, and then administrative regulations, civil criminal procedures, executive orders, international treaties, and codes of conduct. Just good to refresh. Just good to refresh. I mean, my God, think about the dumb shit people put in their heads to know what rights and freedoms you got. I'm sure we can, I think it's mature and responsible. So, what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to talk about the Make My Day law. Make my day. Oh, yeah? Go ahead, punk. Make my day. Go ahead, punk. Make my day. Colorado's going to pass the Make My Day law in 1985. So this has been the law for, 35 years. The Make My Day law, this comes from a quote where Clint Eastwood, he's playing Detective Dirty Harry Callahan. He's in the movie 1983 movie Sudden Impact. And so you got Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry. He's holding a criminal suspect. He's actually at a diner. And it bothers me that he shoots a lot of black bodies. Now, a criminal is a criminal if you think of them as white bodies who was robbing people. A crime is a crime. So Dirty Harry shoots and kills 3 or 4 of the robbers. There's 5 black men who are robbing a diner, and he shoots and kills 3 or 4 of them. And then at the very end, there's the, I guess, sole survivor. He has a hostage. He's got a gun held to a waitress's head, and he's about to, I guess, run out into the street or something, or either shoot somebody or shoot Dirty Harry or some. I guess I'm not for sure the exact situation that he was like. My guess is, go ahead and make my day. Either shoot the woman, you'll get shot. Turn to shoot me, or you'll get shot. Either way, go ahead. He dares him. Go ahead, punk. Make my day. And so that's where this law comes from. So the movie is terrible. Apparently Rotten Tomatoes gave it like 53%. That scene is interesting. It's interesting because it's, stand your ground. It's defending business. It's defending property. There's a lot to it. The Make My Day law was passed in 1985, and they went ahead and nestled this in the use of force law. So you have the use of force statutes, and then you have the affirmative. They're also called the affirmative defense statutes. So from 18-1-701 through 18-1-710. So the Make My Day law is 18-1-704.5. So they just kind of shoved the Make My Day law in there, and I'll read it, but I'll read it, but I'll tell you first what it is. It's just castle law. You got extreme castle law in Colorado. So here's my extreme castle law, meaning you have a right to defend your house, your home, your person, your property. And, some people might say, is it outside? Is it in the streets? Like I said, Make My Day, he was at a diner, when he was daring a criminal to make his day. Go ahead, kill the woman, kill me. Go act like you're going to. You'll be dead. You will die. So the Make My Day law is any occupant of a dwelling is justified in using any degree of physical force, including deadly physical force, against another person when that other person has made an unlawful entry into the dwelling, and when the occupant has a reasonable belief that such other person has committed a crime in the dwelling and against the person or property, in addition to the uninvited entry, when the occupant reasonably believes that such other person might use any physical force, no matter how slight, against any occupant. 18-1-704.5. So the Make My Day law, any occupant of a dwelling, so that would be like any citizen in a tent, right? Those homeless people in tents. Any occupant of a dwelling is justified in using any degree of physical force. Any degree. A little bit or all of it, including deadly physical force, against another person when that other person has made an unlawful entry into the dwelling. And when the occupant has a reasonable belief that that such other person has committed a crime in the dwelling in addition to the uninvited entry, or is committing or intends to commit a crime against the person or property in addition to the uninvited entry. And when the occupant reasonably believes that such other person might use physical force, no matter how slight, against any occupant. So when the occupant has a reasonable belief that the other person has committed a crime in the dwelling, in addition to the uninvited entry, or is committing or intends to commit a crime against a person or property in addition to the uninvited. So you come to your house. If you're in your house and they break in, right? Well, that's clear as day. Now, if you're coming to your house and they're in your house, and say they was like, somebody you knew, an associate, but you didn't know for sure, and you're like, hey, what are you doing here? And he's got burglary tools and he's got like a ski mask on. It's like, I think you're about to commit a crime. So the trespassing by itself, but if you break a window, that's destruction of property. The uninvited entry, so I guess a person could just walk into somebody's door. Just walk on in, right, when they're there. But if they're uninvited, so no matter no matter how slight, the wording of "make my day" is not an accident. Say Aya Gruber, a law professor at the time of the law passing, the legislature meant to give people in their homes broad authority to kill. So that's "make my day" law. It's broad authority to kill within your own home for no matter how slight. If they're going to use physical force, no matter how slight, if they're in your house and it looks like they're going to commit a crime, you have a right to defend yourself. Now, you have to, use reason, and typically you got to be proportional because you have Jehovah's Witness, right? You can't just shoot a Jehovah's Witness and say, well, I thought that they were going to commit a crime. Somebody coming, passing a petition around. You can't just shoot a Jehovah's Witness. You can't just shoot a political organizer. And then I guess, I don't know, solicitors. Get the hell out of here. Yes, sir. If you don't have any no trespassing signs, then what are they supposed to think? So that's the Make My Day law. In Colorado, without a doubt, we can at least defend our home, person, and property with rifles, shotguns, and pistols. That's the bare minimum. So the Make My Day law suggests, especially since it was named after Clint Eastwood and the, go ahead and make my day line, that you have a right to defend people and property and your home, just like the Constitution says. So the Make My Day law is all about castle law. Any occupant of a dwelling is justified when they're in your house. Now, homeless people, they don't, have a right to defend. Of course, they have a right to defend themselves. And any occupant of a dwelling, you have this case, People v. Rao. Patrick Rao is going to kill Donald Russell. He's going to give him 5 seconds to leave. He doesn't leave. Donald doesn't move, so Patrick kills him, just like he declared that he was going to do. So there's two main elements to the Make My Day law one has to satisfy before it applies. The intruder has made an uninvited, unlawful entry into the occupant's dwelling. That by itself isn't just enough. You have to, that's either the crime, an uninvited entry. I mean, uninvited, if they're if they're a neighbor and they thought you was friends and they said, hey, what's going on? They just kind of opened the door because the door was already cracked open or some shit. But unlawful. They broke in. They're in your house. They're on your property. They're not supposed to be in your house. They're not supposed to be on your property. So that's the first thing, right? They got to break into the house or be in the house without invitation. And then they have had to have committed a crime or is committing a crime, or they intend to commit a crime against the person or property. So that would be intent, what the person that comes home thought that the person was doing in their house. Are you intending to commit a crime? Are you intending to rob? There's no reason for you to be in my house when I'm not here. I think you intend to commit a crime. If you think that the person intends to commit a crime, then you would be justified using deadly force under the Make My Day statute, CRS 18, Section 18-1-704.5. Now, the Colorado Supreme Court, they're arguing about whether or not this guy's house is actually a dwelling. Just look at a picture of it. It clearly is a dwelling. Donald Russell, he was all drugged out. He was passed out in Patrick's basement. Patrick woke up, went down the basement, or went down. There's a noise. It's a duplex, so he's just sharing the house with another family, and he's a renter, but it's a house. It's, brick and mortar and sticks, and it's a house. So Patrick goes down to the basement where they wash their clothes and where they also, the heat, that's the only place where they could turn the heat up and down. So it's a part of the house, right? So they're trying to say it's a common area. And if you allow this to happen, then in any apartment buildings, you're going to have shootouts in the hallways of apartment buildings. There's a lot of people that live in apartment buildings, and kind of shocked that they're having. Anyways, Patrick woke Donald Russell up. Donald's being crazy and belligerent, I ain't leaving, no. You see that he broke in. He's acting crazy. And then he gave him 5 seconds to leave. And when he says you got to leave, he's acting crazy. So he thought he intended to commit crime. Either, break stuff or hit Patrick, assault Patrick in some way, or somebody in the house, or do something to the house. Could have just been a trespasser, but he woke him up and said, you need to go. He didn't go, started acting crazy, shot and killed him. So Make My Day protects Patrick Rao. Donald had already made an uninvited, unlawful entry, so that was the first part. And then the second part with him acting crazy made Patrick Rao think that he was going to commit a crime. Patrick Rao says, I think he's going, I think he intends to commit a crime. And, theft, assault, that's a reasonable assumption. Patrick thought Donald may use physical force in his dwelling, probably against, an occupant, namely himself. And when there's a threat of violence against an occupant in your dwelling, no matter how slight, a Coloradan has a right to kill that criminal. Donald Russell was sleeping in an unlit basement, and after Patrick Rao nudged Donald awake with his foot, told him to get out, Donald sat up, began to shout and gesture and throw things. Afterwards, they'd find the burglary tools that Donald had used to break into the duplex, Patrick's home, where they found next where he had been sleeping. So under Make My Day law, Patrick Rao is justified. Make My Day is mostly castle law, defense of home, but it's also defense of people and property inside the home too. So we've already seen from Vigil that just because you insert yourself into a mild situation, it doesn't negate your Colorado rights. So from Vigil, we see that we have stand your ground. With Make My Day, we see that we have castle law. Make My Day, castle law. You have open carry. You have a whole bunch of rights and freedoms. The right to revolution. And, some other things. So let's see. Make My Day. Now, Make My Day, here's some interesting facts. Fact singular. I don't know. Might be a couple facts here. So Clint Eastwood, they named it after that movie, but it's only in defense of home. It's only castle law. So Clint Eastwood is going to shoot. Let's just say that, he was in the right and, the race thing. But let's assume that let's reverse the roles. You got a black store owner. So you have a black man who is defending his store, and you have all these white criminals who's robbing him. And he shoots 4 of them. And then the last one is about to shoot, and he said, go ahead and make my day. But then the guy drops the gun. And so if that black man, let's say he's running a pizza shop. So a black man who's running a pizza shop has these 5 white criminals that came into his place with guns and masks and saying, give me your money, give me your money. That black man would be justified under the natural law of self-preservation. He would be justified under the self-defense laws of Colorado. But he wouldn't be justified under the Make My Day law since it only applies to castle law. So a lot of lawyers, they try to get, real cutesy. They try to get real slick when it comes to the Make My Day law. People say, what about the Make My Day law? Assuming that they have a right to defend themselves. And then people say, well, that actually is just castle law. It's not stand your ground. It's not, okay. And while technically that's true, like I said in the beginning, it's nestled in between all these use of force statutes. The Make My Day law is just castle law, but the use of force statutes, 18-1-701 through 710, remember it's 704.5, so 701 through 710, it's also Colorado's affirmative defense statutes. So they say a lot of things. 18-1-703 extends police powers in certain situations to teachers and parents and jailers and bus drivers and pilots and anybody to stop a suicide and doctors and nurses. Section 18-1-704 is Colorado's defense of person statute. You have a right to defend your person and up to deadly force if you are afraid of being killed or you were afraid of sustaining great bodily injury. You also have a right to defend a person if you were defending an occupant of a business during a robbery or if one witnesses a kidnapping, robbery, assault, or sexual assault. So you have a right to defend people. You have a right to defend yourself if you're afraid of being killed or great bodily injury is about to happen to you or to somebody else. Or a kidnapping has happened. You're about to be kidnapped, or they're robbing you, or they're, kidnapping or robbing or assaulting or sexually assaulting somebody else. You have a right to stop it, to citizens arrest them, and if they don't, then deadly force is not justified according to 18-1-704, if A, the person provoked it, right? If you're going around shooting up the neighborhood and somebody shoots you, you can't claim self-defense. You're going around shooting up the neighborhood. You cannot provoke the thing. Or if you're the aggressor, B, if you provoked it, if you're the aggressor, kind of the same thing. Or C, the killing was a product of combat by agreement, not specifically authorized by law, such as dueling. Colorado's use of force statutes continue. CRS 18-1-705 is the use of force in defense of premises. So you have a right to defend yourself and you have a right to defend premises. So this is very specific. 705 says that an owner or manager or any other delegate that has authority over a building may use reasonable force to remove a trespasser, but he can't use deadly force unless he believes that the culprit is about to commit first-degree arson. And a person is guilty of committing first-degree arson if they illegally set a building on fire, or if they blow up a building, or if they blow up a part of a building. That's 18-4-102. So in Colorado, you have a right to defend your building. You have a right to defend the premises. They make an exception saying that you can use reasonable force, but it would be crazy to run in and see an arsonist and, push him out and, put out the fire or whatever, and he's not attacking you, because the moment he attacks you, and if he's in your house, but it's a building, so it's not about home, it's just about defending property, defending a building. And it only mentions that the owner, the manager, the person that has direct authority over that building too. CRS section 18-1-706 is Colorado's use of force to defend property law. Colorado can use reasonable force against a trespasser who is guilty of criminal theft, criminal mischief, which destruction of property, criminal tampering with property. So you're stealing, you're breaking stuff. You can use reasonable force against a trespasser, but you cannot kill that person. Deadly force can only be used in circumstances in the defense of person. So if you see somebody robbing, trespassing, only if they are threatening a person, which I think is kind of crazy. They come in your house, they take some things, but they don't run right at you. They walk past you, so they're not threatening you or threatening anybody else. You gotta, kick their ass. You got to knock it, get your stuff out, rip the stuff out of their hands, push them off your property, make a citizen's arrest. There's several things that you could do to defend property, but not deadly force. It can't go up to deadly force unless it's in defense of a person. Colorado also has CRS 18-1-706.5. This is Colorado's break a car window to save a pet. So if you see some pet suffering in a vehicle, you're allowed to break the window. You are protected. You get immunity for that. CRS section 18-1-707, section, 7. Subsection 7 is one of Colorado's citizens' arrest laws. The other one is 16-3-201. In Colorado, a citizen can use reasonable force when arresting a criminal and holding them when that citizen has witnessed the offense for themselves. CRS 18-1-707-7 also doubles down on the Coloradan citizen's right to use deadly force in defense of person. So, there's citizens' arrest law, you have defense of premises, defense of property, defense of people. You have specifically the Make My Day law wouldn't protect Dirty Harry, but you know what? There is a law that would protect Dirty Harry. The law that says you can defend a person, if You were defending an occupant of a business during a robbery. So go back to that scene. You got the black store owner. He just shot 4 white criminals who came in trying to rob him, his a pizza shop. So you got a black man, pizza shop, 4 white men. He just shot and killed them all. And 1 white man has taken a waitress hostage. And the black man says, go ahead and make my day. Now, if the man makes his day, if the man shoots the hostage, if the man goes to point the gun at the man, at the business man, the pizza place owner, the pizza place owner man has a right to kill the 5th white criminal, thieving ass piece of shit too. He has a right. He's got a right, not under the Make My Day law, but he's got a right under Colorado law, specifically the use of force, the affirmative defense, the self-defense statutes, I guess you could say. The use of force and self-defense statutes. So, and specifically, yeah, the B. So even though Clint Eastwood wouldn't be covered by the Make My Day law when he's, saying the Make My Day line, Clint Eastwood would be protected under 18-1-704 Section B. Was defending an occupant of a business during a robbery. Or if one witnesses a kidnapping, robbery, assault, or sexual assault. So, there you go. He didn't provoke it. He wasn't the aggressor. The killing wasn't a product of combat by agreement not specifically authorized by law. Such as dueling, such as cage match to the death. Such as playing chicken. And so there you go. It's ironic that the Make My Day law wouldn't protect Dirty Harry, but people want to say that too quickly because you can not only, he could have also done a citizen's arrest. So he had a right to, defend himself up to deadly force, but he could have made a citizen's arrest. He could have tackled them. He could have taken the gun out of their hands. He could have used force. He was allowed to use force in that situation. So it's stupid. It's a dumb point. Well, yeah, Dirty Harry, Make My Day law wouldn't have even protected Dirty Harry. But Colorado law does. And the law right next to the Make My Day law, the Make My Day law adjacent laws, the use of force, affirmative defense laws, and whatever I just called them, the self-defense laws. Under Colorado law. So what are we going to talk about next? When are we going to talk about that Jared Polis Rocky Mountain gun owner case? It's coming up. So stay tuned.